2/3 of their entire rainfall deficit in 2022. And as Jim mentioned, the Trinity River, fortunately there downtown, there's a huge area where the rain can fall into the river, and they've got a lot of area where the water can overspill. So that's a good thing, and high berms on either side at the Trinity. Other thing we want to mention, the fact that this is going to last until around lunchtime. The flash flood watch goes till lunchtime. The warning here in Dallas County goes till 8 a.m. They may extend it again. They've extended it twice already as more waves of rain come in. It has been raining on and off hard at times, but we haven't seen the water come back up here on 30. So eastbound, westbound, depending on your direction, they should get this other car out of the way very shortly, and this will open up this. 75 going over 30 is wide open right now, but again, trying to get downtown is not easy. You've got the morning rush, you've got school back in session as of last week, so it is a real mess. 62% of Texas as of Thursday, last Thursday, in an extreme or exceptional drought. Those are the two worst categories, and no doubt this is going to put a big dent, this swath across North Texas, as it heads towards the Arklatex and then into parts of Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee in the next day to day and a half. So, Stephanie, what an event overnight. The rain just pouring out of the sky, and as we had expected, a lot of it ran off because the ground was so hard, because the summer has been very, very dry. It's been very, very hot. So this ground was like concrete, like cement here in North Texas.
Yeah. And not to mention just the concrete that you actually have there. There's nowhere for it to go except for to start, streaming through. So you've got two negatives there for you with being so dry and then just actually having the concrete. So let's have a look. Let's go back to Mike Seidel. He's been live for us in Dallas. Mike, what are you seeing now?
Well, we're back here under the Stemmons. 35 is right over here over us. And look at this intersection here. Now, this is not a major thoroughfare. It's a way to get under 35 and get over to, say, Turtle Creek Boulevard from the downtown area. But you can see right there, there's a car submerged there. The trunk is up. So you get an idea of how deep the water is. It's got to be, 5 or 6 feet deep. We've got another vehicle behind me. That one, the backstory on this is a woman drove into the water earlier, and we were told she couldn't swim, and somebody had to rescue her and pour her out of the vehicle earlier this morning. This is, I think, before sunrise. What you hear is a giant pump they brought in about an hour ago, and they're trying to get this intersection pumped out. We showed you the intersection or the overpass where 75 goes over 30 downtown earlier, and that water drained away on its own once the rainfall rate cut back. Speaking of that, in the past hour, nearby Love Fields picked up another half an inch of rain, 4,500ths. So in the past 2 hours, they picked up another 1.15 inches. Granted, that's not the rainfall rates we had overnight early this morning, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., where we had 2 to 3 inches an hour. But this whole area is still underwater like a giant lake. We see the bubbling out there. What I'm going to try to do when I finish this is walk over and talk to the Public Works gentleman who's on the pump and find out why the water is not going away. Granted, it's still raining, but it's not raining anything like it was before. So the rain continues. As Chris mentioned, they have extended the flash flood warning, the Weather Service in Fort Worth, until 1 o'clock for another hour. We'll see if they have to extend it again. If you look on the radar, you can see that the back edge is coming into Tarrant County. That's the home county to Fort Worth. And so another couple of hours or so, we should see things really loosening up here, at least in the Metroplex. The flood watch has been extended. That was going until noon. They've extended after the afternoon as everything slowly pulls out to the east and southeast. But what a day. They have now eaten away about 80% of their year-to-date rainfall deficit, which at midnight Saturday was 9.71 inches. Just imagine getting that much rain. Some areas now have had over 12, even 14 inches of rain on the east side of Dallas. So they're getting, basically a half a year's rainfall total in 6 to 8 hours. Chris, just another extreme weather event that seemed to be coming more regularly in recent months and recent years. We had the flooding in Kentucky, the heavy rainfall over 3 or 4 hours in St. Louis. So we're not surprised, but boy, what a big dent this is going to put in the drought monitor come Thursday.
Yeah, Mike, I saw a stat, like St. Louis did about 4 weeks ago. Dallas has the chance to break the 24-hour record if the rain continues much longer.
Yeah, that's possible. Earlier they had 3.6 3.01 inches at 3 a.m., and that's their heaviest rainfall total in an hour. Now, those records go back to 1953. The whole data set, the monthly third wettest August on record, last time I checked, maybe second now, and all the other records go back to the late 1800s. But even going back to 1953, which is almost 70 years, to get that much rain in 1 hour, the atmosphere was prime. There was so much moisture coming up from the Gulf and what was left of 98L, and it just squeezed everything out of it. I mean, 3 inches an hour, you might as well be at a car wash. Really, that's the effect, and that's what it would be like if you were standing outside earlier this morning here in Dallas.
Yeah, good way to describe it. Thanks for the update, Mike.
So Mike Seidel has been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area visiting with people impacted by this flooding. And Mike, what are people telling you about their experience so far and their work ahead?
Well, we're visiting this block here in southeast Dallas. Remember, this area had the highest rainfall totals, one over 15 inches. And Sunny Sliger, who owns the Color Condition, is joining us outside of her business. And tell us first, what is the Color Condition all about?
We do installation art projects for public parks and cities, events and things where our stuff is meant to hold up in the weather, made out of plastics and nylons and things.
Well, that helps out somewhat inside, and much like Tarantino's, you've got stone walls and stone floors, but you still have impact remediation ahead.
Yes, we have. Our place was very clean before we left, and one of our windows panels right here broke in, and this is where the majority of the water rushing in came, which affected our neighbors on both sides, and it took everything from the front of our studio to the back door, and it's mainly just the fact that the water is very unclean. So
to say the least.
It will dry out, but we have to now find some large fields of sorts to be able to lay everything out and let it dry out and disinfect things.
Now, what time did you get down here today?
About 9 a.m.
And what was the situation with the water level then? Had it already receded?
It had somewhat already receded. There was probably 2 inches still standing in our space. We are on a little bit of a slope, but it was mainly the loss of our window there that caused the majority of damage in our space and our neighbors' space.
How long have you been here?
We've been here about 6.5 years.
And have you seen the water this high before?
Never like this, yeah. And all of our neighbors have been sharing videos with each other and things that cars were moving and floating and coming well up to your shins. So.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of surprising when you drive down the street. There's no rivers, there's no creeks. It doesn't seem like there's a low spot, but everything comes from behind the building out to the street here. It doesn't take much of an elevation change. Water finds the lowest point.
Yeah, this is definitely the worst that we've ever seen here, and certainly affects all the businesses on this block, especially those that, you know, are open for dinner and drinks and service like that. So it's just a real hard hit right now for us.
I can understand. So a few days of disinfectant, bleach, whatever you can use to kill the germs and the mold on the floor.
Yep. And we're already in an old building that's a great spot, and we all band together, but it's just another hurdle.
Okay, well, good luck, Sunny Sliger. Thanks for joining us from the Color Connection on a very comfortable day in Dallas. Samantha, temperatures, last check, have not gotten to 80. This is going to be the coolest, I hate to say coldest, but I'll say coldest day since May 25th, when the high was 73. So very refreshing. That's what happens when you block the sunshine in the summer, especially in these southern latitudes. And the fact that we had 9 inches of rain, officially just over 9 inches of rain at DFW.
Mike, they have a lot of cleanup to do.
So we want to go live where we have Mike Seidel in Dallas. Mike, thanks so much for being out there this morning. What's it looking like now after all the rain that we've seen earlier this week?
As you can imagine, Felicia, it's a big muddy mess around me, just puddles of water. Now, this time yesterday, water was 3 to 4 feet deep. We'll show you from above, from the chopper from KXAS. And not only water reaching up to hips and waist, but they had to come in here, and people that live in here, there aren't many. Most of them were walked out. Now, some of the animals and the babies were carried out, but they were carried out to the fire department. We've not seen any of them return. We get a sense of the water line here on this mobile home where a Hispanic family lives. You can see the water line there, and we hope to talk to them. We heard from them yesterday, and they're okay. Everybody got out okay. As you can see, the water wasn't over anybody's head, but they were concerned about how high the water was going. It all came from the Trinity River, which is about a mile off to the west-southwest in that direction. And although the river has crested in downtown Dallas, as Felicia just mentioned, at 38.64 feet, it's still running pretty full. But now that the rain has backed off, the water that was kind of standing here has returned to the river. But if you look on the map here, all around this area, we've got a lot of marshland. There's just a lot of water every day of the week, except maybe this summer because it's been so dry. Today we have a chance of a few showers this afternoon, so the cleanup continues, but a much better rush hour this morning as we didn't have any road closures like we did yesterday when we had all that water. And here's another stat I hadn't seen. We talked about the fifth wettest calendar day on record at DFW. But the National Weather Service at Fort Worth looked at a 24-hour window, and it ends up being the 9.19 inches, Felicia, ends up being the second wettest 24 hours, only 0.38 below the wettest 24 hours. So it was quite a remarkable day here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and it did eradicate 95% of the drought. So that's the good side of the coin. Tomorrow morning we'll get the drought monitor. I lost track of time. It's Tuesday. Thursday we'll get the drought monitor, and we'll see a big difference, especially across North Texas and all the way into places like Shreveport, eastbound on I-20. Felicia?
Yeah, thanks so much, Mike.
This is the Deep Ellum section of Dallas, just east of downtown, where they had over a foot of rainfall, and this is what happens. You know, it doesn't take much. 6 inches of water will cause the car to float. This BMW's up on a bench, but it's soaked, so it's pretty much a total loss. But look how high the water got, and keep in mind the streets out there, it came over the sidewalk and curb up to here. This is about 5 feet above street level, and one who knows what happened is Emily White, who's lived here for a couple of years. And Emily, this is your humble apartment, or it was.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened early Monday morning.
Yes, so it was about 3 a.m. and I was watching TV. I'm a night owl, and a neighbor was knocking on everyone's door being like, "It's a flood, wake up, wake up." And I was sitting on my sofa crisscross, and then I put my feet down on the floor and my feet got wet. So I noticed that there was water coming all the way from the balcony. So I was actually getting flooded from both sides, from my front door and my back door.
So you can see how high the water got right here.
Right, yeah.
So how deep was it in your apartment?
About 2 inches. So my feet
that's all
were
it
covered.
takes.
Yeah, that's all it takes. And now I have to move out. And then my feet were completely covered. Yeah, it was super scary. I stayed inside, of course, but I was able to see how the water was so high that it completely covered the cars that were on the street. It was that scary.
So it was at the top of these vehicles.
On top of these vehicles, all the water on, and you know what's really funny is that when I moved in here, I asked the leasing agent, "Is there a possibility of this apartment flooding?" And he said, "How could it possibly flood? You're above 5 feet." Then
extreme
here we are.
weather becoming more
common, which is scary.
Yeah, 9 inches of rain, and most of that fell in about 6 or 8 hours. And you know, with a flash flood, as fast as it came in, it left.
Right, so I'm never gonna move on the first floor again.
So
I'm scared.
You're changing now to
I am changed. I'm a changed woman, and flood insurance. That's another thing that I didn't know about. In the state of Texas, flood insurance is optional. That's not I have renter's insurance, but that only covers water damage. It doesn't cover flooding. So
well, you've learned some things.
I
Get
learned
the insurance
a lot.
and go up higher.
And go a little higher. Yeah. I thought that this was high enough, but no. Now I know.
Okay, Emily, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Love your spirit.
Thanks.
You're going to be in a nice dry apartment.
Yeah.
Higher up.
Can't wait.
Here in Dallas, where it was one of those floods you may never see again in a lifetime. Over 9 inches of rain. It did wipe out 95% of the rainfall deficit. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel, the Weather Channel, just east of downtown Dallas.